What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast interview where every single week I interview top entrepreneurs, top real estate professionals, and straight up top badasses. They're out there dominating their space. They're people choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there and create big, amazing, epic lives for themselves and their families. So today, guys, got another rock star guest on the show, a dude that I've known for some time now, and I've been able to watch him just blow up his real estate business. So check this out, you guys. This dude's been in the business for just over 2 years. In his first year in real estate, as an individual single agent, closed 27 deals. Second year, closed 75 deals. So in his first 19 months, did 102 transactions. So now going into his third year, he's built up a real estate team with 9 agents, 3 support staff, and on track to do 120 closings this year, which is his third full year in real estate, which is gnarly, right? Most agents that are developing teams to jump this business, I mean, it can be a decade before they see what our guest has done in 3 short years here. So super stoked and honored to have my friend Jordan TERRELL on the show. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, this is awesome, dude. You're kicking ass. I love seeing it, dude. And, I've been able to witness a lot of this. You know, we met kind of early on in your journey. And dude, it's just gnarly what you've done. But before we get into what you're doing, because I know you're doing so many cool, epic things today, you know, I'm always intrigued in our clients' journey that led them down this space. Because, man, I mean, you had a pretty good gig going on, but something was missing, you know, and you look for a change. But like, why real estate? Like, what led you into this space in the first place?
Yeah, so I'd say the journey started years before, and I loved my previous career. In fact, I was a pastor for. I was in that space for almost 15 years, and I loved it. I was good at it, and I was, I had an incredible journey in that. Around 2010, I started contemplating how am I going to build retirement. I wasn't making a lot of money, and so I had a friend recommend that I read this book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I read it, and it was in reading that, and I'm kind of a take action type of guy. And I don't read, it's not something I'm proud of. I don't read a ton of books, but when I do read something, it sticks. And so I read that book, and a month later, I had my house that my wife and I and our first son was living in. We put it on the rental market, and we started looking for a foreclosure to buy. And so I turned my primary into a rental, bought a foreclosure. We remodeled the foreclosure. Another year goes by, we buy a triplex. And then another year goes by, we bought another rental property. Then we sold the triplex, made a bunch of money, bought like 3 more properties. And now it's 2016. And I'm now making more through rental income than I was my day job. And all of a sudden, and in my day job, I was working a lot of hours, and I loved it. And I loved what I was doing. But all of a sudden, I have 3 little boys, they're ages 2 at the time, 2, 4, and 6. And I'm going, man, I got one shot. What if I'm going to work this much, I want it to count, and towards them, not towards everybody else. Starting with them, I need to make sure that I'm here and I'm present and I'm able to take care of them and not taking care of everybody else. And so I just started wrestling with that. And really the only other thing I knew how to do was real estate. Like, cause I was transacting and I was studying the market and I was reading books. And so to me, it was like investment in real estate. And so I just decided that I was going to take the plunge and jump ship. It was a clean transition. And so I ended that role December 1st of 2016. And I told myself I have until Christmas to get my license. And I reached out to some real estate friends that I knew, and I said, hey, how long does it normally take to get your license? Like, to go through all the training? And they were like 3 months, 2 months, maybe. I was like, what's the fastest you've ever heard of someone accomplishing that? And they were like, I heard someone did it in 24 days. And I was like, perfect. I got till Christmas. I'm going to get my license. And I studied like 14 hours a day, like all day long. Like I would just have coffee and a snack, and I would just study. And I took the license test right before Christmas, passed it on my first shot, which was, I felt lucky at that point. And then I took the entire month of January off. I was like, I got nothing going on. I'm just going to go spend time with my family. So we went and traveled and did some stuff. And then February 1st, 2017 was my first day on the job. And I, deer in headlights, thinking maybe I just made the biggest mistake of my life. Had no idea what I was going to do. I think it was probably mid-February, because at this point I'm like pounding pavement. I'm like, and there's really no one offering training to me. I'm just going, where do I start? And I stumbled onto this podcast. This is 26 months ago, or maybe 27 months ago. And I stumbled onto this podcast, and I remember thinking, okay. And then I think you announced the mastery class, and I logged into that and looked into it, and I was like, all right, this is going to cost $1,000. I've never paid $1,000 for anything, like for training or, like mine, like it was like overwhelming. I was like, man, this better work. and like, I just felt like I was jumping off a cliff just by spending $1,000. What's funny is that 27 months later, I mean, I'm spending 20 times that a month. But the, I remember I logged in the first week, and all I heard, I mean, it was like, all I heard was, I just heard silence, but the one word I heard was, this business isn't going to come to you. You got to go take it. You got to go hustle and make things happen. Like, if you want this to work, it can work. You just have to go make it happen. And it like instantly set in. And that was what set me in motion. And what ended up happening is I closed my first transaction in May of that year of 2017. And from May to December, I closed 27. So that was the ramp, I guess, as you could say. And it was all hustle.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it, dude. Yeah. I mean, it's I speak to so many agents that get in this business, and, a common thing is they had a bad experience with their agent, and we're like, oh, I could do this, or they're not prepared for what it's going to take when they get in. But it's like, dude, like the ante to jump into the game is, you got to be willing to bust your ass, man. You got to be willing to hustle. And you got to be willing to be consistent each and every day, day in and day out, do the monotonous, tedious, things that nobody likes to do. But, those two things, and then if you combine it with the right roadmap, boom, it's game over. Right. Which your production is just 100% proven, dude. So let's talk about that first 4 months, because you did so much production in your last 6 months, but those first 4 months really sets the foundation for those closings, right? And this is where most agents have that dropout. If you look at new agents that join into the industry, it's a 90% dropout in the first 3 years, but the big majority, they run out in that first 6 months, man, because they end up having to go get a part-time job. They run out of money. They don't know what to do. And so even popping your first deal in the first 4 months is damn good, right? So like, what did those first months up before, the last half of the year where production just went crazy, like what were some of the things that you dialed in that if you were talking to a brand new agent right now today, they'd be like, all right, man, like those 27 deals that second half of the year wouldn't have happened if I didn't have this foundation in place?
Right. Yeah. So I would say month one was deer in headlights, pounding pavement, trying to find something that could spark some kind of like, what's the low hanging fruit in this industry? Everyone knows 9 realtors, like every one of my friends, like I know a ton of realtors that are fairly successful, and they've been in the business a long time. And it was right around March that I started meeting with people. I mean, that was the only thing I knew to do, is I just met with anybody I knew. Like I would just sit down with them. And I remember I had this one particular meeting that was like, it was real pivotal. And I remember I sat down, and it was this place called, Mexico is the name of the restaurant. It's in downtown Denver, and they sell burritos. Wouldn't you believe that? And then we're having a burrito, and I'm talking to him, and I'm like, I'm waiting for that moment where I'm going to pitch them. Like, I'm going to like ask for business, because that's what everybody was telling me to do. Like every brokerage, every training was like, SOI, get your sphere to come to you, da, da, da. So I was waiting for my moment, and I was like, hey, so what would it look like, if I could be your real estate guy? I know you don't need to buy or sell. And I kind of did my cheesy pitch, and he looked at me and he was like, that was kind of out of left field, buddy. he's like, honestly, man, I love you. I trust you, but you just started. And I know like 9 really awesome realtors. Why would I call you instead of them? And it just like was this awkward ending to the meeting. And in that moment, it made me really vividly clear that if I wanted to get business from my SOI, I needed to show them that I was competent. So in that moment, I quickly shifted gears and said, I have to go find business outside of my sphere to close. And so against all recommendations from anyone that I knew in real estate that was telling me, start with your sphere, start with your sphere, start with your sphere, I went outside of my sphere. And that was when I made the decision to start generating leads online. And so really there's two sides. I call it, right now it's a model that I'm now implementing in my team, but it's a 60-30-10 model. I spend 60% of my time generating leads online and trying to convert them. And we call them relationship conversions versus lead conversions, because I'm just trying to make a new friend. And somewhere in that friendship results in real estate transactions. So we spend 60% of our time on lead generation, and then 30% of my time on some unique niche, unique focus, something that was unique to me. And at the time, that was investments. So I shifted all of my focus towards dialing people, calling people, things that I was generating, and calling investors and saying, hey, because I could speak the investment business because I was investing in real estate prior to going into real estate full time. And so I started just calling investors and saying, what do you need? What are you looking for? How can I hustle for you? I'm your guy. Like, because investors won't just, they don't care who's helping them transact. They just want the deal. So I just focused on finding deals and linking them up with investors. And then on the other side, I'm generating leads. And all of a sudden I started transacting, I remember May, I closed 2, and then June rolled around, and I remember 1 week went by and I put 4 properties under contract, and I was like, holy crap, like I'm going to make so much money. Like, my mind was just kind of overwhelmed by it. But the thing that I did with every one of these transactions is I would leverage social media. So I would directly engage my sphere via social media, not by telling everybody, look at me, hire me, I'm the best, but rather I'm in action. I'm doing transactional business. Congrats to these buyers. They just bought a house. Congrats. We just got this deal under contract for an investor, but posting lots and lots of content of actionable items. And I did that for the next 7 months, just consistently. And it wasn't that I was trying to avoid my sphere. I wanted my sphere to call me. I wanted them to work with me, but I had to show them that I knew what I was doing first. And so that was really the hustle that happened. Is I started chasing down opportunity. If I saw an opportunity, I jumped in front of it. But yeah, that was really the strategy. But in those first 4 months it was me figuring out, okay, I'm not, especially with my previous role, like I'm the guy that people trusted for advice, with life and stuff. So if I come in there with a sales pitch, it's just so unauthentic and outside of who I really am. And so I had to kind of shift my focus and go, okay, I'm not selling people things. I'm playing a leadership role in their life and helping them with something. And so I really had to shift my mindset, because when you're hungry and you're thinking, I got to provide for my family, all you're thinking about is money. And as long as you're thinking about money, you're selling people to get something from them versus get something for them.
Yeah.
And so I had to really shift. Like, I'm not here to collect something. I'm here to provide something. And if I do a really good job, I get taken care of.
Yeah. Love it, dude. So then, because in that between May and the end of the year, your last 6 months or so of that first year, you're averaging about 4 deals a month at that time, 3 to 4 deals a month, right? And that becomes a lot, right? So to keep up that consistency, especially when you go from none, right? It's one of these things, like if you're averaging 1 a month, then over time you get to 2 a month, then over time you get to 3 a month, then over time you get to 4 a month, over a 3-year span or so, you can slowly condition up to handling that. But you went from 0 to boom, 3 or 4 every single month. And I'm guessing at that point, being new to the transactions, you probably didn't, having to still work on putting systems in place to be able to handle that. You didn't have a support staff like you do now. What was it like, and what were some of the things that you did to service those deals? Because like so many agents, they get busy, they stop the consistent, that 60% or 90% of the time, 60, 30, 10, right? So that 90% of bringing a new business stops so they can service the business that they have, right? Which you obviously to go from keep those 26-7 deals in that time frame and then skyrocket to 75 the next year, that shows me that you didn't take your foot off the accelerator. So what were some of the things that you did to stay consistent? Because I'm sure at that time your head was wanting to explode.
Yeah. So there was another pivotal moment. It was in June. I mentioned it a second ago. I put 4 deals under contract in a week, and I was super pumped. What was cool about that is that the next week we were heading to Aspen for a family vacation for 7 days. And so I'm like, this is awesome. I just put 4 deals under contract. Now I'm going to go off into the sunset and hang out with my family for a week and then just enjoy, the peace and quiet of my family and go on hikes. And then I spent the entire 7 days on my phone dealing with inspections and just paperwork. And I hated it. I was like, I didn't sign up for this. I got into this business so I could spend more time with my family and I could afford it. And here I am, I'm fielding calls left and right and just dealing with all the stuff. And I said, in my head, I was like, there's got to be a better way. And so it was at that point that I said, I need help. I have to give up some of this upside, and leverage other talented people that are good at things. Because at that time I was working, like I would be trying to generate business all day, and then I was handling paperwork from 10 to 2 a.m. and then waking up, when my kids run in my room at 6 a.m. And so I really wasn't sleeping. I just was working. And so that's when I started thinking I need help. And so I actually called one of my old assistants that used to work with me in previous career. And I said, hey, do you have a twin? I want to hire them. And we were sitting down for coffee over this conversation. And she's like, actually, I would be interested. And I was like, well, I don't even know where this is going. I can't hire you like full time. Like, don't leave that other job. And she's like, no, I think you're going to make this work. And so I brought her on for 10 hours a week. That quickly turned into 20 hours a week. That quickly turned into 40 hours a week. And, she was non-licensed, helping me with transaction management, setting appointments, showings, bookkeeping, like basically everything. Like we were all like together, just trying to handle all of this business that was happening all at the same time. So that was basically that conversation started in July. And that's when in previous career, I built teams and understood delegation and leverage. And there's 4 words that I ask myself, like anytime something comes up and it's challenging, I always ask myself, can I eliminate this thing? Can I delegate this thing? Can I automate this, or can I simplify it? So I have to categorize this task that's draining me. Can I eliminate it? Can I delegate it? Can I automate it? And can I simplify it? And it funnels into one of those categories, guaranteed. And unless it's like some high dollar producing activity that only I can do. And so that was really what kept me able to, instead of slowing down when it got busy, I actually sped up.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome, dude. Yeah. Well, and yeah, I mean, and it's so crucial, right? Because we end up spending so much time, because otherwise doing all those we're doing without your admin, now you flip the model around where 80-90% of your time is non-money producing activities. Yeah, right. Which is, dude, we just see so much of this in the industry. So then as you enter year 2, right? So you've got this amazing admin now. And as you're entering year 2, you skyrocket now to 75 transactions. Was it just from the momentum that you built up, plus now with your right hand woman support staff, helping you with all of this that allowed you to do more money making activities? Or were there any tweaks in overall business strategy that helped lead to that next year of growth?
Yeah. So right around probably, I would say September, October of that 2017, I was watching some podcast of some top producer or something. I don't know where it was that I saw him. Dear friend of mine now, but he was basically communicating something along the lines of him coaching agents or taking on a select few. And at the time I didn't really have the budget. I really didn't, just the way where we were. And I was doing lower end transactions at that time. So although I was doing a lot of transactions, I was still spending and trying to afford everything. And so I just reached out to him. Like I just called him out of the blue, emailed him, whatever. And I just said, hey, everything that you're saying, like the way you've built your business, I would love to model after you. Would you consider sharing? Like, would you consider coaching me? I don't know if I can afford it, but and so I shared my story with him, and he was like, man, we have the same story. That's crazy. I would love to help you. And so he started coaching me, and that lasted about 6 months, and that's led to some other coaching things that we can talk about in a minute. But so there's two things that happened. Coaching was instrumental because it really taught me how to leverage technology to automate and how to leverage systems at a higher level. And then also he encouraged me to bring on some other agents. And so December of 2017, I told Amber, my assistant, I said, we're gonna bring on 3 agents. And somehow in the next 20 days, like my phone rings 3 times and 3 people are saying, hey, we've been seeing you blow up your business. We've been in the business longer than you, but we haven't done this much yet. And we just want to learn from you. And can we join your team? And I'm like, oh, I wasn't even advertising, but yes, that's great. And so that was kind of a process of bringing on some other agents. We also at that point started outsourcing TCs, and that was the beginning of 18. And so that was when we developed new struggles, which is how do I get what's in here into their heads? How do I implement what I'm learning and create these systems to help them succeed? And so 2018 was kind of like this, I don't know how to describe it other. It was just chaos for a year. And so at the end of the year, we did 75 transactions. I did personally 60 sides, like fully did the full transaction with the help of a TC. And then of those 3 agents, 2 stayed on, and we did another 15 there, and I was helping them. And so that 2018 was my first full year in the business, my first 12 months. And we fumbled and bumbled through it, but we learned a lot. We built a lot of systems. But yeah, that coaching was incredible piece of that.
Yep. Love it, dude. So as you're building out systems, man, because, it becomes, or it appears to be this big, overwhelming thing, right? And then, if you develop the right strategy with it, like mine's, it falls religiously, but it's the daily power hour. Devote an hour a day to just working on my systems. And a lot of it is you're just building out as you're going. Hey, I'm going to input this new listing that I got. Okay, let me slow down a little bit as I'm inputting, and then document and screen record, and then that becomes part of my listing manual. And because you had to implement so many that year, for those that are struggling or find that process overwhelming, like what were some of the things that you did to get those systems in place, and what kind of advice would you give?
Yeah, so I think so. Here was a thing that I think we kept on failing at, is that I kept on looking outside and saying, looking on Facebook groups and like, who's got this system and can you share it with me? And like, they would send me the drip campaign or whatever. And I would just be reading these Facebook groups and these threads. And I think I made a mistake a lot of just hoping that I could implement somebody else's system into mine versus using that as kind of a guide, but not choosing not to think. And so I would say the thing that's really helped us from a system standpoint was seeing what other people do and then recreating our own version of it by stopping, like shutting down, like office is closed today, and just thinking, like going, what do I want my client experience to look like? What do I want to happen when this goes into motion? And what are the steps that have to follow that? And like get out of, mind map it, get out a marker board and just draw arrows, versus just like finding some rock star out there who has a system and trying to implement it 100% and just going, all of our markets are different and the demographics are different. How people respond to our drips are different. And so we have to think. And so I would say the thing that's really helped me in that year was just taking pauses and taking a time out, like you said, and just thinking and just going, what do I need to happen, and creating systems. So we have systems for, I mean, we're still learning and it's still kind of chaos, but we're implementing, I would say some of the first systems we created were just a system for transactional support, just making sure that there's checks and balances. And, I have like 8 different email addresses. And so, cause I was like trying to see emails from clients, but I had so many showings emails and so many contract emails. And so I started separating everything so I could like focus. I'm just focusing on clients right now. I'm just responding to emails. Now I'm focusing on contracts. Now I'm focused on lead systems. Now I'm, so I separated everything so that I could actually think. But yeah, I would say from an advice standpoint, it's just people need to stop and think, and take control of their own business and let other people who are crushing it use those things that they're giving as advice for guide. But we didn't really start doing really well until we started just thinking.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, Jim Rohn, he's got a famous saying out there of, be a student, not a follower.
Right.
I like learn from the greats and those that have done it before you, see their models, break it down, right? But then, make it your own, tweak it, right? Don't be the follower, be the student. So,
right.
So then going into this year then, so you had your 3 agents, but 2 stayed with you. And then now you're up to 9, right? So what had been the shifts for this growth now to adding these agents? Because now you have your systems in place. The thing I always get hit up constantly on that so many team leaders, brokerage owners have a tough time with is recruiting. Yeah, right. So because at this point too, you're still in a lot of production. So you're producing, you're having to service and coach your agents, build these systems. Now you've added on recruiting, right? Can you kind of just walk us through like what you're doing now today that's maybe different than last year? And what are you doing that is also having success bringing on? Because what you brought on 7 agents already this year, and what are we in June for 6 months?
Yeah. So I would say, well, first of all, 2018, we weren't really trying to recruit because we were just trying to create something that was worth recruiting to. Recruiting people into a mess, and then they get there and they're like, well, this is disorganized and not helpful. So I just had a few people that were willing to stick with me in 2018 to help me build something. And now in 2019, I'm able to recruit people to something. And and I can offer them something. It's somewhat attractive. We have an office, we have systems, we have technology. And so I've tried a few different things. I've tried doing like, where we call, we set up campaigns to other agents in our market that we don't know. And that hasn't really been successful for us. We've tried posting ads, on those different platforms that you can post ads to people that might become a real estate agent. And that's been okay. But where we've crushed it is just by being very, very present on our social media and making it really clear to our vendors, so title companies, lenders, and all of our sphere, that we are building a team. We want agents on our team. And so people are recruiting for us. So I have people sending people to us and then people that want to get in the industry. So out of the 8 other agents on my team, I would say all of them are organic except for one.
Yeah.
And one of them, he was a former client of mine who was a lead that got generated into our system. And I called him, helped him and his wife buy a house. And then they had a baby. And he said, you know what? I need to make a career change. You helped me, and it never felt like you were trying to sell me anything. You just genuinely helped me. Can you teach me how to do that with other people? And I was like, done. So we've really focused a lot of our time on creating culture. So we have family night once a month where I have everybody over at my house, and I don't encourage them. I ask them, please bring your spouses and your kids. I want our families to interact. I want you to understand that behind, sometimes in the office I can be intense and direct and not present and just walks, I'm a high D on the DISC profile. But I want them to know that when I'm at my house, I'm a high I. Like, I care. Like, I want to hang out. I want to have drinks, maybe too many. And I want to have a good time. And so we do family night. And then we try to have fun in our office hours where we're just high-fiving. And the other thing that's helped too is, and I think it's helped a little bit, but I think it's going to continue to help, is that we incentivize our agents to recruit other agents. So if they bring someone to our team, I have a plan in place where they'll get paid year after year based on that other agent's success, which also forces them to be involved in the success of that other agent and continued success of that other agent. So it's not a ton, but if they were to bring on 4 other agents and that those 4 other agents were to succeed year after year after year, they're going to make probably additional $10,000 a year for doing nothing other than loving on those other agents. Yeah. So we just try to create, my theory is I don't want to have a top-down organization where I'm just swimming in all the goods and everybody else is working hard for me. I'd rather give up some of that upside and make sure that everybody's winning. And so one of the ways I'm doing that is just trying to create bonuses and systems and overrides and other things that just incentivizes everybody to be interested in the other's good.
Yeah, love it, dude. So when it comes to social media, man, because you brought it up a couple of times now, and this is a passion of yours, and you've done extremely well at it, right? So from the past clients, referral business, like you talked about, with just more sharing stories, not trying to sell, excuse me, with that to recruiting. But then you also talked about online lead gen that you're doing with it. So can you kind of break down what your overall Facebook strategy is between your sphere of influence, whether it's for agent recruits or for, buyers and sellers, repeat referral business, as well as I'm guessing at this point, if 60% of your business is online lead gen, maybe you're throwing some money, doing some paid ads at it. Can you kind of break that down of what that looks like and what's working well for you?
Yeah. So when I said 60, 30, 10, 60% of my time is focused on lead gen, 30% is focused on my niche. Everybody on my team is required to have a niche. So I might focus on investors because I think it's fun. I have another guy on my team who's a former Marine. So his unique focus is veterans. Another guy on my team, his unique focus is develop relationships with builders. So everyone needs to spend 30% of their time focusing on their unique focus, 60% of their time focusing on lead generation, and 10% of their time very intentionally with their SOI. And so the SOI is in those rank in hardest to easiest, right? It's hardest to convert leads online. And then you have your niche where you start adding a lot of value to people in that unique focus. It's going to be easier to convert that. Your SOI, your phone rings, you're doing a deal. Like you don't have to work it. You just have to make sure that you're present. So what we've done with social media is, and this was just me going, I don't see a lot of real estate agent activity from the people I know that are successful. And how do I communicate to all the people I know that I'm in the business? And not only am I in the business, but I'm doing really well. How do I do that? Like, I don't want to have them over for a barbecue and be like, hey, did you notice like all that's happening that I'm doing? It's good, right? I want them to ask me at the barbecue, dude, it looks like you're crushing it. That's awesome. Tell me more. Like, I want that conversation to happen because it's a lot less awkward. It's a lot less like I'm trying to sell something. So what I do is when I put something under contract, I post a picture of the house, maybe some interior pics, and I just create something in Canva. And I post it, under contract. Congrats to our clients. They just got this property under contract. They called me a couple months ago and they were looking to get out of renting, or they own another property, but they're hoping to turn that into a rental. And now we're helping them buy their second property. And so congrats to them, blah, 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 blah. Then we get to, closing, and we post another ad with maybe some slightly different pictures of the closing, on the listing, new listing, under contract, closed. And so, if we're closing 4 deals a month in those early stages, I was posting about 20 times a month. And so 20 days out of the 30 days, I was posting on social media. And so now it's more like, 10 to 12 contracts a month. So every day there's something to post about, to communicate about. And what we train all of our teammates to do is we need to be hyper engaged with the people in our sphere. So in the way that the social media algorithms work is that people in my sphere won't even see my post unless I'm first engaged with their social media. And the way that I always communicate that is like, if you go to a barbecue and you like posting on social media and then logging off, like all you're doing is just posting something and then leaving, is like going to a barbecue and grabbing a chicken leg and then leaving. Like you need to log into your social media and engage with people, like comment on their stuff, ask questions about their stuff. But the people that we're naturally, organically engaged with, whenever we post stuff, they're going to see it. So who are my sphere of influence? The people that love me, like me, and trust me, but I also want them to know that I'm competent at my business. So I'm intentionally engaged with what they're doing on social media so that when I post, they naturally see it as well. And I know it works too, because when I go to, get-togethers, hangouts, people are getting together for drinks or whatever, people are like, man, like every time I log into Facebook, you're closing another deal. Like how did you do that so fast? And then I get to explain it to them. I don't have to I'm not trying to ask them for business. I'm just trying to explain, here's what we're doing. Here's how we're adding value. Here's what we're doing that's different. But so everyone on our team, we're being hyper intentional with our social media. So that's all the organic stuff. On the advertising side for lead generation, we're doing a lot of PPC. We're doing a lot of Facebook, and that's just all like sponsored ads to certain, we're doing a lot of dynamic retargeting. We have some different platforms that we engage in. I mean, we don't spend a ton of money on advertising. I would say from ranking the teams our size, we don't spend a lot because my theory is until we're really, really, really good at converting and following up, it's not really worth spending all that money. When we get better at that, then we can. But that's really the intentionality is how. There's a phrase out there, I think Gary Vee uses it a lot, but that the whole idea of attention. How do you gain attention marketing? And so we've leveraged social media, Instagram, Facebook to basically make ourselves look bigger than we are. I mean, I branded my team name day one. I'd never done a transaction, didn't even have an appointment set yet. And I called a marketing company in Denver, and I was like, hey, I want you to create me a logo. And they were like, I sat down with them. They're like, it's going to be $3,000. And I was like, $3,000. So I pay them $3,000 to create a brand. And so it was called the Jordan TERRELL Group. And they were like, well, who else works with you? I'm like, nobody. They're like, well, who's the group? And I was like, I'm just trying to, I don't know. I'm creating an image. And so really social media for us is creating the image that we want to be at in 12 months. And so we start to communicate ourselves in such a way, 6 to 12 months later, we're there. And it's almost like we're casting out what we want other people to see us as, and then it comes to fruition. And so the bigger we get, the louder we get. But it's a fine line because you can go from loud to annoying really, really fast. And so we try to, operate with no shame, but at the same time, let's not be annoying. Let's add value.
Yep. No, dude, I love it, man. Yeah, and it's because the combat to, like, let's just say a brand new agent, when you're talking about the social media as far as because we do the same thing, right? Every new listing gets a just listed or even a coming soon, right? Coming soon, just listed, under contract, just sold. So that's 4 postings, and we'll switch up the pictures. I'm not saying it's a different property, but they don't know, right? And reality is irrelevant. It's all about perception of reality, right? Every buyer, same thing, under contract, just sold, and telling stories just like you said. And then as far as when new agents like, well, man, I don't have any closings yet. I'm like, look, dude, every time you're in front of a new, just badass house, do a selfie in front of it, getting ready to go preview this, this epic house, love what I do, hashtag blessed, hashtag real estate life, right? Or like engagement that we get a lot on is, like let's just say, hey, met with a buyer today, took out to show homes. One of the requirements is they have to have a beautiful resort-like backyard. And I saw some of the most amazing, beautiful backyards today. Here's a picture of my 6 favorites. You got to check these out and comment below. I'd love to hear what your favorite is. Right? Or we'll do like a side-by-side of, 2 different types of gourmet kitchens. Right? Which one would you like? Just shit like that. People are, but you're telling stories of it. Yeah, one of the things I love about working with new clients is identifying their style. Some people love modern, contemporary. I'd love to hear what my Facebook family's styles are. Check these out and let me know which one's your favorite. Just shit like that, dude. It goes so far. Then as far as the agent recruiting, are you really just doing the same there? How are you incorporating that you're always growing and looking? Are you doing it on the same posts, or are you doing different posts?
Yeah, we're posting stuff. Just hired another agent. Meet so and so. Welcome to the team. We're so excited. A lot of our posts, I'll post to. All the stuff that I'm posting is to personal social media. It's not business, because business, Facebook business. Its organic reach is like at an all-time low. They really just want us to spend money on the business side, but on the personal stuff. So I'll write just listed or just sold, congrats to the client, but also congrats to so-and-so agent on our team for crushing it. He just got started a few months ago with us. Look at him go, So I'm constantly communicating things that indicate that not only do we take on other agents, but we help new agents succeed. And so it just kind of communicates. So a lot of our recruiting, I'll have so-and-so call me and they're like, hey, thinking about getting into real estate, and so-and-so said, I have to call you. Like that you're the guy that you got in and started crushing it, and that you're helping other people get in and start to crush it. And like, it's like this, I don't know. There's 2 people on my team that I never met, and people that I barely know are the ones that recommended them calling me. Yeah. And so it's kind of out there in its space. Right. And so I think we're very intentional about what we're posting on social media. If I had the budget today, I would bring on somebody full-time that's all they could focus on, because we're starting to get to that point where we're having a hard time actually having enough time to post all that stuff. Yeah. And so we're kind of at that place where if we can get our agent production up just a little bit, that would probably be like social media, video production, like all that stuff would be our next move, because I think I believe in social media and video. I think it's huge, and we just don't have the capacity to do it like I want to.
Yep. Love it, dude. And then with the paid ads, man, because in the last year or so, and it's getting, I don't want to say worse and worse or better and better, whatever you want to call it, but it used to be, man, it was so easy to generate leads. Like you could, have demographics and interests and likely to move. You could, but a lot of that's going away. And, right. We're having more success, or I'm having more success with Facebook than I ever have previously. However, just like what you said, we're doing a lot of dynamic retargeting. Feeling like that's the key, right? Knowing how to build out, marketing funnels on Facebook, and making sure that you're retargeting correctly and not being reliant on interest and demographics. And so can you just kind of do a breakdown of what kind of a sample ad would look like and what you mean by dynamic audiences of what you're doing in your area that's working with paid ads?
Yeah. So I'm one of those guys that I like to stay in my lane. Like I part of the reason why I started a team is because I recognize that and I just know from past stuff, like I'm really good at leadership. I'm good at building teams. I'm really good at recruiting and training and casting vision and that stuff. I'm really not good at everything else. So again, it comes back to delegate, eliminate, simplify, automate. So I've really outsourced a lot of things. And so from when it comes to, so we have 2 IDX sites. One is built with our branding, and we use that on Facebook intentionally because we want our branding to be on Facebook because it's a very personal, engaged site. We have a we have another IDX site that doesn't have our branding. It's just generic and it's on Google. And so we drive people there from Google because, why would I click on Jordan TERRELL on Google? Because that's more of a direct marketing. I'm looking for homes in Denver and Jordan wants to sell me a home. No, I just want to see a home. Where on Facebook, it's like Jordan's showing homes that I can click on. So we're very intentional about that, but I have like a PPC manager that manages my ads on Google, and my ISA on my staff is always directly communicating with him, working on those ads to make them more dynamic and more strategic into areas or neighborhoods that there's a lot of property moving, that are really desirable. But on the Facebook side, we have another platform that manages all of our Facebook ads. So we post like new homes that are coming on the market, and we cast them out through different sponsored ads. And it's like, hey, check out these homes in Broomfield, Colorado, all priced between $400 and $500, just hot on the market this week, and some other details. If they click on it, they come to our IDX site, and we try to capture their information. Well, they log on to Facebook 3 days later. We're going to show them new homes within that same dynamic space, within 300,000 to 400,000 in the same area. We're going to show them the new stuff. It's kind of like Amazon. You bought a camera, or you're thinking about buying a camera, but the next day you're like on Google somewhere and there's an Amazon ad and it says, hey, you were going to buy a camera, but did you see these other 3 that are similar? Because they might catch your eye. So that's the dynamic retargeting that we're doing. So our manager is just constantly pulling feed from the MLS and posting it back to these people that we're retargeting. And so, Facebook is like top of the funnel. It's like way out there. Like people are looking at it because they're looking at clicking on homes because something in their subconscious thinks that home is cool, which shows us some kind of indication that maybe down the road they're open to the idea of buying a home. So, we're talking a long ways out. Sometimes there's people that are very, very interested. So we train and role play of how to engage with these people. It's like, we're not selling them something. We're just coming alongside them. But I guess, does that give you kind of an idea of what the ads look like and then the retargeting looks like?
Yep. Yeah. And dude, it's those of you watching and listening to this, this is so important where it's, I heard a Facebook statistic the other day specific to real estate, but it takes 12 times of somebody seeing your ad in their Facebook newsfeed before it clicks in their brain to even remember or like recognize your face, your name, your logo, to remember seeing it, right? So, there's that warm up. So, when you get them to click on that ad, hitting your website, right? Because that, especially when you're doing a conversion ad like that, 90% are going to bounce. They're not going to do a forced reg, right? At least the first time around. Well, now you're able to retarget those people. That's a little bit warmer of an audience. Now you're retargeting them with more, and it becomes important. Like one thing that we did, dude, because with Facebook, we started doing Facebook ads in like 2015 for my real estate team, and it took about a year to get okay, right? There's a build-up time, right?
Right.
Even to this, like if we look at this day with everything that we've tweaked and tried to shorten it, the average lead that comes into our system from Facebook is 6.7 months out, not from buying, but from signing a buyer broker or a listing agreement. Yeah, right. Then you got another several months from there. So, and then we, of course, have people that are in there for 2 or 3 years, some that pop sooner, but that's just average. But dude, after about 4 years into this, got to the point where we were closing like 1 out of 103, right? About 1%, which still with the ROI, that's killer, right? Making $6,000 commission on something that we're spending $2 for a lead on or $3 for a lead on. But one tweak that we started making is once they opt in for a lead is putting them into a different custom audience. And at that point, just hitting them with brand awareness ads. And we don't need to get them to log in, but just pump them with brand awareness ads. And these are just information about the area, about buying real estate, with processes, selling real estate in the area. But with that, because then by that point, you're warming them up. Now when you get them on the phone, it's like, well, who is this? They know who you are. They're used to seeing your stuff so often now. After a year of doing that, we finally got down to that 1 out of 46. And it's just been, but that retargeting, man, is the key, dude. Like you gotta know it, you gotta dial it in.
And it helps with, I think that the thing I love most about Facebook ads is the branding side of it. people, everywhere I go, people are like, man, I see you all the time on Facebook. Like, that's all I hear. And I see your company, I see what you're doing. Like, and it just helps create a sense of we're everywhere, and that's why we're even now targeting recruiting agents on the other side of the town. You can barely see it in the camera, but I have a TV up here with a big camera attached to the bottom of it, because I'm trying to start recruiting agents on all sides of Denver, and they don't have to drive to my office to be a part of my trainings and my team. They can just be on our Zoom trainings every day. And because we don't want to just pocket ourselves, we want to have experts in each part of the Denver market. Because with Facebook, we can become experts in each part of our market. It's that simple. It's just spending money in a different zip code and just branding yourself. So we don't do, we're all digital. We don't do really any print. We don't farm, send out mailers. In my opinion, it's all white noise. We might send gifts to past clients and things like that. Do client events. Another big thing that's like really been huge for us is we do housewarming parties after everyone buys a house. So we bring in, there's a really popular place out here that it's like an ice cream, like a high-end ice cream place, and they're kind of sprinkled around the city. And so they have an ice cream truck, because a normal food truck costs about $800. You have to like do a $800 minimum, but ice cream truck, $150. And, you just say, hey, we're only doing vanilla and chocolate and one topping. And we have the ice cream truck show up. We bring some booze over. We knock the neighborhood. Hey, come meet your new neighbors. They can't wait to meet you guys. Sometimes it's really hard to integrate with the new neighborhood. So we just felt like buying and moving in is like the perfect opportunity for us to spoil them. And so we invite the neighbors over, and they're always like, and we put up our tent, and we got the truck there for the kids and ice cream, and there's drinks, and pouring drinks for people, and the neighbors are connected. And here's the craziest thing is the neighbors are we're watching neighbors that live next to each other exchange cell phones for the first time. And they live next to each other because we're this 2020 generation where we work, we live online, and then we pull into our garage, we shut the door, and we go inside and we like watch TV and eat dinner, but we don't know our neighbors. But neighbors is the best part of owning a home. Like, if you know your neighbors and you're like, hey buddy, like, come over, let's barbecue, let's grab a drink, let's crack a beer, whatever. Like, that's what makes buying a home actually really exciting. So we try to bridge that gap, but unintentionally, but intentionally, it creates us new relationships with other people in that neighborhood.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it, man. So then I want to talk about the niches, right? Because a lot of real estate agents, I don't know if, because we're most agents, if you were to interview 100 agents, right, about, what is a niche, or what, like, what do you think of when you think of niche? A lot of people will think of, expireds or FSBOs or, whatever, not of, like you talked about with the Marine, targeting vets in the area and, really niching down in that element. Or maybe it's, like I got a guy in my office out here that, he loves, because I asked him, I'm like, what do you love most about living in the city, or here in the city that we live in? And it's all the outdoor stuff. He's got his razor, his toys. He loves the outdoor. Well, his niche is people that are into those, and they of course need special homes with, special either HOA restrictions or no HOA to allow all their toys at their home, or RV garage, right? So he's very targeted with people that he has it's his passion is involved with. I've got another good friend of mine up in Edmonton, Canada, who crushes it with, this walkable movement. Like, her whole thing is about walkability in the city, right? Another one with minimalism and different things like that. So when you are requiring this part of your team that everybody has to identify a niche, can you give some advice of like, how do you identify what niche is for you? And then once you identify that, like, how do you go create success with it?
Yeah. So for me, the niche kind of naturally happened with the investments, right? And so I was like, what is this element of my business? It's an element of my business that I think it's fun. Like, I already speak the language. I already know all the terms. I can speak pro forma and go through the numbers and spit it out to an investor and say, here's a good deal and here's why. And I don't sound like some guy that's like never, because I own investments, and I've got kicked in the teeth before and I've made bad decisions. And so like, I can say that to an investor and they know that I'm speaking their language. So it's fun for me. It's easy for me. It's natural for me. And honestly, if production's low for our business, I can go create deals left and right through investments. It's something that it's like, all right, time to go deal hunting. I got to go find some deals because I need to close some property. I got to get paid. We need to get production up. So the question I ask all of our agents is, what is something that you love? Like you're passionate about it. Like you're already passionate about it today. And there's other people in the city that are passionate about it as well. And you can create something that can rally those people together and create relationships so that you can procure opportunity out of it. And so it has to align with your passion, because it doesn't need to feel like work. It needs to feel like, oh, this is when I get to play and call it work. And, because the first time I recognized this for that Marine on my team, I had this lead on the phone. He was a Marine, and I was like, hey, I want you to talk to so-and-so. And I put him on the phone, and they started talking like Marine stuff, like codes and stuff. And I was like, just hit it off. Like they were ready to go buy houses like instantly. And I was like, okay, that's special. That's something that I could never do. We gotta create a niche around that. So the question is what are you passionate about? And that you already know a lot about, you have knowledge there, that you create a unique, like a new sphere, like a new circle of relationships because of your passion in this category. And out of that, it can procure one opportunity per month. So the hope is that you're generating one lead opportunity per month and one niche opportunity per month. And then you're sharing both of that with your sphere and creating a third opportunity a month. If you're doing that, I'm paying all your expenses. Life is going to be good because you're closing 36 deals a year and you're making lots of money. And so that's kind of how we push it, is create it. So we have a guy that he loves new builds. He loves builders and relationships. So he happens to know a bunch of builders, and then he used to work in a new build like front office like years ago. And so he kind of knows that spectrum. And so his whole thing is he's networking with builders. And so, I mean, we have a new build, like it's like a local builder that just, is getting ready to build all these houses. And we just, got the contract for that, and he obtained it. And so, cause he's focusing on it. And, we got the Marine, and we got another guy that used to work, in the sports and medicine area of the local high schools. And so he's going to focus on schools. I have another guy that's really focused on, like, he loves like hiking and biking and Colorado foothills, like the whole mountain scene out here. And so he's like creating this, like, he's calling it Colorado-tastic. He created a website, and he's creating family outings. And every week he's posting another outing, and he's trying to create a community. And it's like, hey, all you have to do is show up with your wife and your 2 kids or your 3 kids or whatever. And we're going to have a hike planned for you that's family friendly, kid friendly, and, and giveaways. And I'm going to be your guide. And so he's like, but through that, he's going to make a bunch of new friends, and he gets to bring his family with him, and it's not work. So that's what's cool. So everybody, I think, should have a niche that's unique to them. And it makes our jobs, because calling leads all day sucks. And it just does. But when you do something like that, it's all of a sudden, it's like, how do I get to do this and call it work? I'm like hanging out with people. And so for me, the investment stuff is just fun. I just like talking to investors and just trying to, deal hunt and put things together. And, but everybody should have something like that.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. I love it, dude. So, yeah, and you start thinking of the example that you're talking about that, man. I'm like rolling through, like I got a buddy of mine that just through CrossFit, right? Does over 100 deals a year through his CrossFit, gym and his influence in CrossFit. And I don't know if you know Tyler Smith, who is the CEO. He was the original founder, but now the CEO of SkySlope. And he was a top KW team on the planet, like 1,000 transactions a year, right? And got to the point, built up 35 monthly closings month after month, right? From two niches, if you will, 2 groups. He loved business and he loved eat wine, like wine. So he created a wine testing, wine meetup group, and then a monthly business meetup group. And just all got together every single month and just, like with the wine group, like he wanted to learn more. He wasn't the expert, right? But he loved wine. So, and he's like, yeah. And then savvy, seems like people that drink wine are a little bit more sophisticated. Maybe they're buying homes, right? So his job was just to facilitate. You don't have to be the expert, just something that you love, that you facilitate the experience, and you bring in other experts. And he's like, dude, don't make it about real estate. He's like, and then, as you start plugging in things in their private Facebook group, he'd be like, hey, I'm getting ready to do a housewarming party for one of my clients, and I wanted to do something fun. And I was thinking about doing a blindfold wine tasting, contest, but I don't want to play, I don't want to make it where it's hard, stump the chump. Like, what wines would you guys recommend that would be, something good for an event like this? Just like you're just planting these little seeds, but you create this where dude, people love to be a part of that. Or your investment, man. You do a monthly meetup for all these investors. I had a dude on the show the other day who was the number one agent in the country, doing 1,000 transactions a year, roughly. I think 1,200. So he was the number one Wall Street Journal agent in the country for a long time. And he got to the point with his investment where they did a monthly meetup with their people that wanted to get in investing. Right? And he'd bring in other investors. And it was just a dude, you go, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad networks, they're all over the planet now with these meetup groups. People love the meetup groups. But everybody to get in, it was all free, but they had to sign a buyer exclusive agency with him. Right?
Right.
Right. And he just blew up. That's how he was able to scale this small team to 100 transactions a month. Right. There's just so much damn opportunity. But I believe more importantly than ever before, with all the discounters, all the iBuyers, everything that we're seeing in our space, I don't believe in the whole death of the realtor deal. I think a lot of agents are going to exit the industry, but those that survive, one critical thing is going to be the more that you niche down, right? The more that you make it relational, the more that you niche down, the riches are in the niches, man.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Love it, dude. So, what would you say, I know we're going long on time here. So, but what would you say overall, cause you talked about your ability of being, being the great leader, and you talked early on in the interview about, it just seems like you were a guy that early on was able to connect the dots from what your strengths were in your previous career as a pastor to how to, overlay that over here, where a lot of people jump in this industry and they think they have to reinvent themselves completely. Right. Well, no, dude, how did you shine? Where were you a rock star at what worked for you in your previous space, and, connect the dots into what can work over here. So can you kind of elaborate on, how you've done that and just for others to, because we've all developed all these skill sets over life, but then people just sometimes think they have to reinvent themselves and they don't tap into those.
Right. Yeah. I think probably the most helpful thing that's ever happened to me, period, is learning what I suck at. And not having such an ego that I can't admit it, but going almost proud of the areas that I suck, because if I suck at all these other areas, that means I'm really good at a couple other things. And if I can just focus on those couple things, there's a place for me, because the world needs that. What the world doesn't need is me trying to pretend like I'm good at a bunch of things that I'm not. And so, when I got into this business, I was vividly clear what I'm good at and what I'm not. And like I said, I'm not good at a lot, but I'm really good at influence and create leadership and getting people excited about things and getting people on board with ideas. But then it's like, well, what do we do? I don't know. Talk to that person. They're really good at implementing, and so I think our egos get in the way. We want to be good at everything, and we can't. We're not designed that way. We're all really good at unique things, and understanding your DISC profile, your Enneagram, understanding what makes you tick, and living in that strength. I think if all of us spent more time living in our strengths, we would be a lot more efficient, a lot more effective. So I guess the thing that I would say to everybody, the thing I say to the people on my team is you don't have to be an incredible salesperson. One of the guys on my team, I'm really naturally good at convincing people to take action, sales, right? This other guy, he's on my team is like the most nurturing. Like, oh, you want to see another 75 homes before you make a decision? I'd be glad to show you. And I'm like, no, we show 2 properties and we make decisions, and he's just so nurturing. And the second I saw him closing deals was when I realized you don't have to be anything to close a deal. You just have to be focused on who you are. And there's certain things that we're not good at that we need to firm up a little bit because it's like, it's hurting us, or we need to implement strategies or systems to make up for that. But I think it's really important that people identify, take personality profiles, do whatever they have to do to understand where their strengths are so they can focus there and build their business around that. Because if you're trying to, because I know there's team leaders out there that are like super detail oriented, like, engineers. And then there's team leaders that are, high D, big I personality, like drivers. And then there's, there's really no recipe except for, I think, living in your strengths and supporting yourself with other people around you who are good at things that you're not, and trusting them. I sat with we call it our team captain meeting. And I sat with them yesterday and I was like kind of doing what I do. And I was pushing. I was like, we need to get this done and we need to get this done. And I was like, this needs to happen. If we can get through this, and then I just stopped and I took a step back and I go, guys, you guys are really smart. What am I missing? Is there any blind spots that I have that I've not seen? Like, what do you think? Like, I don't know. And I just stopped talking and listened. And because I started to realize I'm not even asking for their input, and they're really, really talented people. And so I would say new agents, don't try to be something that you're not. Identify what you're really good at and find out how that fits into this business, because it fits somewhere. Somewhere there's a need for you have to be willing to talk to people. I don't care what you're good at. You got to be willing to talk for people, and you got to be willing to hustle. If you can do those 2 things, your talents work.
Yeah, love it. Couldn't agree more, man. So I got one last question for you, but before I do that, I want to make sure that everybody knows that wants to get in touch with you, if they have a referral for Denver, or if somebody's watching this in Denver, wants to join your team. Like, where are the best places, dude, to go stay in touch with you, watch you, learn more about you? If I'm an agent listening to this, I'm going to go friend request you, follow you so I can see what you're doing, right? So where's the best place to do that?
Yeah. So I would say Facebook and Instagram, Jordan TERRELL, like Terrell Davis, the old running back. That's how I spell my last name, is just Jordan TERRELL. Or you can email me at jordan@jordanterrellgroup.com. And honestly, like, Joshua, your systems and what you've done have like, this was day one. Like when I was like staring at a wall going, I don't know where to start. It was your ability to generously give that inspired me. It was watching a podcast just like this that was like, oh, it triggered so many things. And then there was many people after you that have contributed. So I'm an open book. Like, I'll share anything. I don't care if you're in my market. I'll help you be my competition. That's really my thought process. There's plenty of sales to go around for everybody in Denver. But I definitely want to come from a place of contribution. So yeah, hit me up, Instagram, Facebook, or jordan@jordanterrellgroup.com.
Love it. And we'll have, wherever you're watching or listening, we're going to have links to that below, so you'll be able to click right on those. So, all right, dude, last question for you. It's been a wild journey for you. A lot of success, right? People hear the successes. They don't always hear the, all the struggles that are behind the scenes as well, right? And growth pains are worse than slow pains, which doesn't make any sense until you experience it. And then you're like, okay, I get it. But with all that being said, dude, with everything you know now, during this almost 3-year journey, if Jordan today could go back to Jordan day one and have a conversation with yourself and give yourself 2 pieces of advice that you feel would have just fast forwarded the trajectory of your success, what would those 2 pieces of advice be?
Hire a coach. Hire somebody that has already figured out the business that you want to create, and follow them. Why spend way too much money learning mistakes when they can just say, hey, there's a ditch there, don't walk into that, go this way. I believe in mentorship. And I think that would be, I did that probably 6 months after I started. I wish I would have done it day one. Like, absolutely. It's expensive. It seems crazy. It's the best thing you can do. The other thing I would say is you got to get in control of your emotions and manage them well. This is a mindset game, mindset business where you can't measure by transaction. You have to manage by year. And if you're like, man, I'm having a great day because I got a deal, and then you go 4 weeks without a deal, well, that just means that you just had 29 bad days. And if you're having a bad day, you're not going to get into your rhythm. You're not going to get into your routine. You have to see this as a business of consistency and daily habits. Like, screw goals, focus on habits, and your goals will come to fruition, you know? And I would say managing emotions. And I struggle with this. Like, the last month, you know, having all these new agents and, you know, our overhead's high, and I'm trying to keep our production above that so that I can actually have money to pay for my own personal family. There's been moments where I've called my coach and I'm like, please tell me you remember what this feels like and that you got through it, because I feel like I'm about to lose my mind. In fact, I feel like today's harder than day one. And he's like, you're going to get through it. Just stay steady, keep in your routine, manage your emotions. It's like the same things that I'm dealing with today, I was dealing with day one. I'm just doing them again and again and again and again. And I imagine that there's even future down the road where maybe, you know, I get to sit at a table with guys like you, Josh, where, you know, I could say, yeah, we closed 300 transactions this year. But my gut is that even in that, I'll still be having new challenges where I have to choose to manage my emotions, and I have to have some kind of mentor in my life that I can lean on. Right. So those are the two things that I would encourage anybody jumping in the business.
Yep. The bigger the production, man, the bigger the obstacles and problems and frustrations. And you can't be a prophet in your own backyard. You know, it's like, dude, Jesus had to leave his own town to start preaching, right? You become blind in your own business, man. It's, you know, I spent over $200,000 last year on coaches and consultants and mentors and programs and you know, my self-development, because it's constant, dude. And again, we just can't sometimes see the obvious because we're too deep in the trenches. So I couldn't agree more, dude. Those that are watching and listening, I know I ended the podcast with this, but information without implementation is truly the start of delusion. Information is power. It's taking action on the information that you learn that allows you to create the power in your life, to create the life that you truly know you want and deserve. And you've heard so many great pieces of advice and information from Jordan today, as well as this dude is an implementer. He's you know, he lives by the GSD mode code, right? So this is a guy that doesn't just, as he talked about when he read that first book, he's like, I don't read a lot of books, but when I do, I execute, I take action, I implement. It's so important. So take something that you learned today. Don't wait. Go out there and take immediate action right now so you can go out there and create the life that you know you want and deserve. And as always, thank you so much for watching and all of your support. And Jordan, man, this has been a massive honor having on the show, dude. So awesome seeing all the success that you've created in these not even 3 full short years yet, but man, I can't wait to see what it's going to look like 10 years down the road, right? So keep kicking ass, man, and this has been an honor, my friend.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
100%. All right, guys, peace. We'll see you next time.